Google Forms is great for setting up a virtual lab because A, your students have everything in one spot, and B, it automatically grades short answer questions and multiple choice and some additional questions, so it saves you some time as the teacher. So here's what the student sees. They can see the instructions. You'll have them enter their first and last name. Then what you'll do is you'll have them scroll down and they can read instructions, have a video. I do recommend that you set up a video for instructions. So walk them through what they have to do. And any video that you create, put a passphrase in it. So you know your students watch the video. So for example, if they didn't watch the video and they're like, I don't know the answer to this, you can set up your Google form so they can't submit it and ask them to go watch the video. So let's say they get the passphrase correctly, they'll be able to submit the form now, and they're good to go. You can put additional instructions in here, links. So let's say you do a demo and you don't have YouTube, you can just put the link here as well so they can click on it and go to it. So if you use something like Screencast-O-Matic. Additional instructions, you can put pictures in here. You can have students add a file. So they have to actually go and upload a file. So maybe you have a picture you want them to submit to prove that they completed the lab. You can do that as well. The one thing here that I'm going to tell you is if your school doesn't have Gmail as their primary email for students, don't do this. Please don't do this. It'll lead to a lot of frustration on your students' part. But if your school has Gmail as their primary email, use it. Awesome. You can add multiple choice questions here. And if a student gets the question wrong, you'd also set up into sections. So let's say they tested 6 different items in the lab. You could ask a question on one of them. They get it wrong, send them to a new question, send them to the new question, a new question. So if they keep just guessing, it's just going to send them to another question. So it'll save them from really just going through this answering just to answer. Next, if you set up a free response question, you can set it up so they have to have so many characters, or there's a maximum they can put. I like to use the minimum, so if they're like, I don't know, I'm not going to answer this, hit submit. Oh, please go back and add some additional information to your answer. They have to give more information. And then they can hit submit. And what's really nice here is they can view their score, and they can submit another response just depending on what you want as a teacher, and you can give additional instructions or be like, hey, way to go, or hey, click view score to see my feedback or your answers. So they have their answers here, and I do recommend giving feedback. I'm going to show you how to do this as well. And the reason feedback is so important is, let's say it's a free response question. They're like, oh my goodness, I got a 7 out of 35 on this lab. Oh my goodness, I'm freaking out. I failed. Well, you can let them know you're going to grade it later. Don't worry about your grade yet. I have to update it. You'll see it reflected in your grade book. And then as the teacher, what's really nice about this is you can actually click here to go to responses. And I recommend clicking individual. You can go through and individually grade the responses. So let's say automatically graded, yay, less to do. Oh, I gotta look at this picture, let's click on it. Oh, hey, 10 points, they had what they needed. Automatically graded. And then here you read their free response question, you give them the points they want. And what I love about this is that you can go and give additional information or feedback. So I don't want this here, different feedback. And you can add a YouTube video, maybe there's something to help them, or a link. Let's say you use Screencast-O-Matic, you can actually put a password on the video and hey, use this password, and you can talk to them about their lab, and you hit save. So how do we set this up? Well, you open your Google form. Some key things, you want to give a title here and click over here. You can do form description, so instructions, and your question. You can add additional questions here with this plus, but there's a ton of different types of questions. Multiple choice, this is really nice. So you have your question, your options, and to send them to different sections, you actually got to click add section. And why this is nice, so let's say they tested 6 different things in the lab and you ask a question on one. If they get it wrong, you go to section based on answer. And hey, they get it right, go to section 3. Maybe there's section 3 here. If they get it wrong, go to section 2. So based on their answer, you can actually send them to a different question. And then you loop it right back. So once they get the question right, it goes right to section 3. So depending on how you set this up. Other things with this, you can do short answer. This is nice. So let's click these three little dots again. And you go do response validation. So you can do number, text, or length. So let's say you do text, contains, let's say the passphrase, for example, was Bob. Well, I recommend getting rid of the first letter in any of your answers. The reason for this is capitalization. Google Forms doesn't account for that. You can put your custom error text, so if they get it wrong, you have some additional information there. You can do numbers, so depending on what you want, ton of options. Paragraph, this is where you come down here, you do response validation, and you can do length, so minimum or maximum characters. So depending on what you want, I always use minimum. So you can decide how many characters it has to be minimum. There's checkboxes drop down, your file upload, different scales and grids, date and time as well, depending on what you would like. Additional things here is you can add questions from a different Google form you created, so you don't have to redo them. You can add additional text. You can upload a picture, add video, add another section. Also within your question, what's really nice is right here, you can add different pictures so it comes right below that question. So it's not as segregated. Other things, you need to set it up as a quiz. So settings, you can do some things here, such as collect email address and limit to one response, which is beautiful if you have Gmail at your school. If not, don't do this. Presentation, show progress bar. If you have multiple sections in your Google form, don't do this. It really frustrates students. They see, oh, I got to complete 5. I'm 5 of 100. No, really, you only have to do 2 more sections. You can do your last response, so please look at your feedback. The last thing they'll see, and your quizzes. Let's set this up as a quiz to make the teacher's life easier. You can decide what you want. I don't like using those. I like point values and save. Once you're here, you can go to answer key. Click answer key. You can add answer feedback. So maybe it is that free response question. You can tell them, hey, I'll grade this here in this week or by this date. Add a link, add a video, save. You can add points so it automatically grades it if it's multiple choice or fill in the blank. But if it's free response, you have to grade it. Hit done. So let's say you do have a question here. It's multiple choice, add answer key. You need to choose the correct options. So you click the green correct option. There's only one here. How many points? Add feedback. And what's nice here is you can add feedback for incorrect answers or correct answers and hit save. Some additional really cool things about this. So you have your responses here. Let's say this quiz or this form is due on Friday. On Monday, you have them all graded. Woohoo! Well, you don't want to go back and double check this all the time. So you can actually take this off, meaning a student cannot submit this Google form anymore. But what you can do is you can actually have them email you. So maybe you have an announcement, hey, you can no longer submit this Google form. To get a try on it, please email me. And you can go here, make a copy, and you can make a copy just for them, give it their name, and send them that specific link. Or come here, you can get email notifications sent right to you. So after the due date or you have everything graded, you can get an email sent to you saying, hey, somebody else submitted their responses.